Episode 3, How to Change to a Whole Foods Lifestyle Using Oskii's Endorphin Swap.
Plans for Life podcast is straight conversation about plant-based whole foods, also known as ITAL lifestyles for health and wellness with a special focus on cannabis. Felicia Dawson, MD, cannabis advocate, educator, dual board certified physician, obstetrics, gynecology, and integrative medicine. Oskii Chevanier, fourth generation Jamaican herbalist, plant-based nutritionist, indoor cannabis cultivator, and veteran cannabis pioneer. And Marilyn and T.S, RN, author, speaker, and cannabis advocate. Join us as we discuss nutritional plant-based lifestyles, including cannabis.
We're talking today with just Marilyn T.S and Oskii Chevanier. I wanted to just mention Plants for Life is an acronym for plant-based lifestyle and ancient nutritional treatment strategies. And today we're going to talk about a whole food plant-based lifestyle that saved us from disease and illness. And I say to us because I'm talking about me and Oskii. We have this interesting thing in common. We both chose to change our lifestyle and become plant-based and whole food. Just by chance, before we knew each other, these were journeys that we had already gone through. Just by chance also, we were both 300 pounds each at one time, but that's beside the point. What's most important is that we chose health. We chose to change. Oskii, did your change happen overnight? Was there something that you did that made you change to be more healthy and holistic and plant-based?
No, it didn't happen overnight. I've known about it my entire life. For one, whole foods plant-based is something that has been practiced from people in my family for quite some time. In Rastafarian culture, they call it ITAL. So that's just a way of life that I was raised up under. My big homie was a Rasta's youth and had Rastafarian parents, and I grew up around that type of culture and respecting and upholding those values of being from the earth and earth food, earth strong. So I actually went plant-based for the first time when I was like 18 years old. I was plant-based till around 20 when I lost all my resources and had to fend from the bottom up again. and living in Miami without having the garden at my disposal like I grew up with, being plant-based was a lot harder. I didn't understand it properly, and I was plant-based because I could pretty much just buy all my meals made, and it was easy. But when I wasn't able to do that, I went back to eating whatever I could survive off. And I didn't understand at that time how to be whole foods plant-based on my own. I had to relearn that. I didn't get raised how to be whole foods plant-based. I raised seeing it and knowing it, but I didn't get raised I didn't know how to prepare it properly. I understand the ancient techniques. They were just kind of done for me. I had an old mother, and
Thank you.
Old means wisdom. Also, I was raised around ageless people. My grandfather died at 103. At 96 years old, he was calling me a girl because I wouldn't pick coconuts off the top of a tree from a broken ladder that he was holding. You know what I mean? Like I grew up with people who his forearms were like Popeyes. At 90-something years old, he's doing stuff that I couldn't do. So I never thought of age as some weakness. I definitely haven't seen that.
I'm really grateful for that experience that you have because I learned so much from you as a result of your opportunity to learn from your family and your ancestors. It's beautiful. I want to make a point here that whole foods plant-based is not something that you just turn on and it's done and over with. It's a journey. And just like you said, you started at one time and then you stopped and then you had to restart again and relearn again.
It's a process because, for one, it's a convenience thing. Whole foods plant-based, and vegan is a trend. Vegan doesn't mean healthy. It just means not made from animal products. There are tons of toxic things out there with this vegan label on it.
So then tell us, what does whole foods plant-based mean?
Whole foods plant-based means pretty much processing your own food, like getting things in their original form, grain and whole form. The dried beans, the dried grains, and pretty much processing your own foods, making your own thing that what we buy on the shelf are whole foods that have been processed in a factory elsewhere and packaged and given to us. And in order to do that, to package things and put them on shelves, they've got to add products that are toxic to our bodies and detrimental to us. All right, so whole foods plant-based is basically going back to processing our own foods. And the reason why it becomes a mission at this point is because the world has become way more fast-paced and kind of dependent upon these convenient food sources, right? Not having to do a lot, cutting corners to our preparation of these foods. Ideally, in the time of the indigenous peoples, right, there will be one cooked meal a day, because a cooked meal would take 8 hours to prepare. Right. You have to start in the morning.
You have to start the day before,
right?
Sometimes
the day before, and even the, whatever it is, you're grinding and working for the course of the day before that's done. The whoever is the hunter or gatherer will be out in the field with nature's fast foods in their pockets. That will be brightly colored fruits. That will be dried nuts and berries. These things that can be portable. That will be eating, snacking on all day and drinking water from source that they can and whatnot, or drinking from the fruits that are full of water. And when you get back home in the evening, that's one cooked meal is finally prepared. You eat that, and then the rest of the day will continue with whatever snacks you have on hand. There wouldn't be 3 cooked meals a day. Like, nature doesn't provide that.
It feels more natural to eat that way too. I want to just say that one of the ways that I got healthy was doing something very similar to that. It excites me to hear you say that, because I'm known for packing my bag. I always have a bag of food with me all day long. And I do only eat one major meal a day, but I start with water and fruits, and if I have to leave the house, I've got a bunch of stuff with me. You know that about me. I've always got a bag of food with me.
Right.
Because when it's time to eat, I want to be eating something that I brought and I processed and I thought about thoughtfully. I don't want to be at the mercy of anything that's purchased in a fast food or even grocery store sometimes.
Right.
I'm pleased to hear that I did something that was kind of ancient in order to get here.
That's our ideal way to eat. Small amounts often, as opposed to big, huge, full amounts in periods that last long periods of time.
That's not what common knowledge is these days. That's not what nutritionists teach these days. And I also hope that we have a podcast in the future about fasting and cleansing, because that's a whole new topic that we need to go into and help us as a tool to learn how to do that in order to become more healthy. But in the meantime, let's stick with whole foods, plant-based. I also want to say that what I think of as whole foods is when I put something in my mouth to eat, it has to be something that I could personally pick, or I knew where it came from exactly, that I could grow it myself in the earth, or that I know exactly how it was processed in order that I could personally do it myself. I have to understand and know of every ingredient of anything that I eat, and I scrutinize everything on purpose so that I know that it's whole, that it hasn't been processed by someone else. But I like your idea of processing food yourself.
We have got to start reading labels for one, when we eat these things that come off the shelf in boxes that are processed. We have got to start reading the labels. These things have science projects on the side of their ingredients list. When food doesn't have ingredients, I saw the list of this, it actually is ingredients. Food is ingredients. Like, you're supposed to have a food product and season it with other food products. It's not supposed to be a long list of words that you can't pronounce with scientific terminologies on them on the back of your food. So once you see that on the back of a food box, it's a red flag. Even if it is a consciously processed product, meaning that it's got things in there that you can read, and it's still not as good. It's still not as nutritional, because for one, it's not fresh. That's lost nutritional value right there. For two, it's kind of like old food, I guess.
Yeah, you know that's a good way to put it.
Nutritional value from it. And if the less stuff they have to preserve it, the more old it is. So it's just better at the end of the day to try to do it yourself and make these things yourself. And there are a couple key things that people have to do, and that is to get the tools because of our society going at a pace way faster than it was the indigenous peoples preparing their whole foods. We have to use the tools that the factories are using, or the folks who are processing our food, the companies are using to process the food and put it on the shelves for us. That way it makes it easier for us and faster, more convenient for us to make it part of our life. Because a big thing with eating whole foods and plant-based is the convenience factor of it.
So you're talking about things like blenders, high-speed processors,
right.
Dehydrators,
right.
Things that we can process ourselves,
right.
but it's faster than the ancients did.
Proper tools. Tools has always been key to our survival as a species. Tools. And at this point, we got to have the tools to match the folks who are processing the food to put them on a shelf in that speed of time. A proper blender costs $300-400, but that's the same price as a half decent cell phone or TV.
True that. In Plants for Lifestyle, we are outside. You may hear the water running behind us. We do all of our recording outdoors because we're in the midst of a pandemic and it's the safest place to be. And it matches our brand as well. So we just moved a little bit and we're closer to the water. So enjoy the sound and we're going to continue. Oskii, we left off talking about how we need to continue a whole food, plant-based lifestyle, making sure that we process our own food. And we were talking a little bit about what that means.
When I first went plant-based, or ITIL, as we like to call it, I was spoiled. I had the resources. In Miami, it's not necessarily cheap to be plant-based if you're buying plant-based things from the grocery store. Apple costs $1.50. We don't have a lot of farmers markets down there. So having a farmers market here and nearby is a blessing. Anybody who has access to a farmers market, that's your best bet because you can get your whole foods there, meaning your bulk legumes, which are your alkaline legumes, which are chickpeas. Then you have your other very nutritional legumes, which are not alkaline, but are still very nutritional, like lentils, your red kidneys, your navies. I eat lentils in different forms, different varieties of lentils almost every day. French green lentils, there are the black beluga lentils. I eat red split ones, the yellow split ones. We also do a lot of, we call them gunga peas in Jamaica, pigeon peas. Those are like I think they're related. They're close to what they may know as cow peas. They look similar, but I don't know if they're related. But that might be a variety that they have. More people are knowledgeable out here. They use them for cover crops and whatnot.
Okay, so legumes are one thing that we need to stock up on. What else should we have in our pantry?
Your root vegetables, your grains, and your fruits and veg. Your leafy, your bracilius, your leafies, meaning your kales, cabbages, collards. Those leafies. For leafies, your kales are your alkaline, and your cabbages and collards are your inalkaline, but still have quality for people who don't have detrimental systems, of course. And then you have your grains. You have alkaline grains like spelt and kamut.
We really appreciate that you recommended that. We've been using spelt flour instead, and it's really better tasting. It gives a fuller, robust flavor, and it also fills us up better, and we've been making our own bread with it. So thank you for that recommendation. Spelt
still has gluten, so it's not gluten-free, but it has a ton of other nutrients that work to regulate that gluten that's in there.
The nutrients that are usually processed out of other...
Of wheat processed and these foods that have gluten in them. So spelt still got gluten, so someone who's sensitive to gluten may not want to mess with it, but someone who is trying to be alkaline and can still handle gluten, spelt would be the best way to go because the nutrients in it are going to kind of neutralize that gluten.
Tell me what examples of root vegetables are the best ones.
And I'm gonna put the vine vegetables on there as well because they're just they're in the same category, I guess, price wise, right, and nutritional wise. So your root vegetables would be like your potatoes, your sweet potatoes, your Japanese sweet potatoes, your American sweet potatoes. I don't recommend potatoes as much unless someone's transitioning. Like regular straight potatoes is too much starch. Pretty much almost like eating white bread. But the sweet potatoes, the purple ones, the Japanese sweets, the American sweet potatoes, the boignado
What about carrots?
Caribbean sweet potato. Carrots are cool too. They're not alkaline, but carrots are cool as well. Carrots are good for juicing, and they're good for their nutrient content as well. We use them all the time for juicing, and even the juicer pulp of carrots can be used to make different meals. When you juice vegetables, you can use the leftovers to make other meals. You don't just throw it away.
So we have a really good idea of what it is we should kind of keep on hand. And we understand, too, that we need to process these things ourselves. You mentioned getting expensive kind of equipment previously.
Right.
And that's to use it, and instead of having someone else process our food for us, we process it for ourselves. It's kind of discouraging to put expense into the mix. Do you have any ideas about how we can process our own food and be able to afford the expense?
I do. These tools are no more expensive. $300-$400 that you spend for a quality blender or a decent processor or air fryer or one of these tools is no more than a decent cell phone or a decent TV. And the same payment plans that people get on to get these things, to purchase these items, are the same payment plans you can use to purchase these tools. If we just value our health as much as we value our entertainment and our communications, we would invest in these things and start getting to it. Now, that is the expensive part of it, but after you get that over with, the food itself becomes cheaper because you actually pay for the processing that the factories do for you. When you buy that loaf of bread instead of baking it yourself, you paid for that, as opposed to buying that grain and making it yourself. When you buy that prepared thing in the package, be it a cookie, a cracker, whatever it may be, you pay for that processing. If we buy the alkaline flours in their raw form, and we buy the dried legumes in their raw form, soak them overnight, we need to practice food prep, and we need the tools to process our own foods to be able to meet the convenience of today's standards, of today's fast-paced world.
Okay, so let's say we have food processors, we have air fryers, we have everything that we need to go whole foods, we actually have the food we need. There's a process of learning and changing, and it's really hard for people to give up things like meat.
Right.
Tell me, I'm prompting you, I'm asking you this because I want you to tell me and all of us about what you have coined as a phrase called endorphin swap.
Right.
What does that mean?
The endorphin swap. The endorphin swap is how to scientifically understand what is going on in our brains when we like food, when we think something tastes good. What's happening in our brains when we eat food and we enjoy it is endorphins are getting released. We're getting an endorphin release that makes us feel joy, makes us feel happy, makes us feel good feelings when we feel that food touch our mouth and go into our system.
I think we can all understand what that feels like.
Right, that's endorphins.
We all have our certain foods that make us feel ooh.
Right. I gotta have, you crave it. You want this stuff. It tastes good. Those are endorphins that are released. These are in the foods to make us want to eat, to make us enjoy the foods. Now, understanding what releases these endorphins is key because we've gotten used to purely processed and animal-based sources of these endorphin releases. Endorphins are released by three things in our foods: sugars, salts, and fats. We've been so accustomed to getting these endorphin releases from meat and processed food sources that we don't understand that we will get this same release from any source. So the endorphin swap is how to retrain our mind to get these endorphin releases, these endorphin rushes from other sources aside from the meat and processed food-based ones that we've become accustomed to. After we swap out the sources of the release, the fats, salts, and sugars, you get your fats from the coconut creams and the
avocados?
The avocados and the nuts, the nut butters. If you see why vegans or plant-based people go so crazy about avocados and nut butters, it's because those things are full of fat and they're getting endorphin releases from them. And then your salts. Anything that you put salt on is going to kick it off even more. That Himalayan pink salt or the sea salt. Those salts have qualities to them and are not just detrimental to you. They're not refined salts. And if you don't have blood pressure issues, you can have them in moderation.
Or nutritional yeast
Nutritional
also
yeast.
brings salt into it. It's a wonderful taste.
Right. Nutritional yeast adds umami. It adds a bunch of richness and flavor, density to it. Nutritional yeast is actually a mini meat because those are microbes. So that you might as well call them meats.
Oh, no wonder it works so well
right.
for
They're
me.
they're microbes. So they're in some sense alive. They've been alive. And they add a lot of umami and really richness to food that the stuff that we crave for meat. And then sugars. There are alkaline sources of sugars like agave syrup and like maple syrup, which is the best one. Agave is still a refined sugar, so it's still got detrimental properties, but the source is alkaline. Maple syrup and dates are your alkaline sweeteners.
I love that. I have maple syrup at my house and dates as well. And you taught me to use the dates for the sweetener, and I really appreciate that. So what you're saying is that we get endorphins released in our body from eating sugar, fat, and salt, which we get in meat and other processed foods such as cheese and chips and all of those things that we crave, pizza. We can take instead regular store-bought whole food, process it with these different ways of using our food processors and dehydrators and air fryers, and create sugar, salt, and fat that's naturally going to bring up endorphins within us. And what is it that you call this when we do this?
The endorphin swap.
The endorphin swap.
It's like this. If you add, if something that's plant-based doesn't have the kick that you need to make you feel good, if you add fat to it, it's going to do it. If you either add fat, salt, or sugar to that guy, it's going to raise that endorphin release. For example, meat only tastes good because we are seasoning fat. If you were to take a piece of meat, a great cut, the one you enjoy, marbling is what people look for in a good cut of meat. If you take a piece of good meat and throw it in a pot of water and boil him till nothing to leave inside of it, and it's done, and take it out and slap it on a plate for somebody, you cut up that piece of shoe and eat it, and it don't taste like nothing. Right?
That's
all the oils, all the stuff that make it taste good is inside that water now that get dashed away, right? Or would make a soup. When you're making a soup out of a meat, you're pretty much adding the fat of the meat to the soup to make it taste rich. You don't need that meat. You can take that meat and dash it away and put some coconut oil in there, or put up, if you're cooking something that's alkaline, avocado oil, or anything that you're doing. For example, if you're making a smoothie, a milkshake, what tastes good in that milkshake is the sugar and the fat in the milk. It doesn't matter if you use coconut cream or cream. The brain don't know the difference. All it knows is that it's getting endorphins released. You put a little bit of Himalayan pink salt in that. You fill up that full of. I just saw a hummingbird grab a bug out the sky. That was so awesome. You saw it? I saw him grab it. The hummingbird came through and snatched it out the sky. I was like, wow. So they eat meat.
The beauty of working outdoors.
That was awesome. It's a beautiful thing as a predator.
We need to wrap this up, Oskii, because we could talk forever, and we have talked forever about this. I've known you for a couple of years, and you have influenced the way that my journey to being healthy has gone. I used to struggle with this until you taught me the endorphin swap and what it takes. And so what I've done is regularly, methodically, in almost a scheduled way, I have exchanged things that I did eat for things that I should eat and processed it myself. And over a long period of time, I have actually become a person who eats whole foods and is plant-based.
ITAL.
I'm grateful for that.
You have become ITAL.
I have become ITAL.
ITAL.
Imagine that.
If you're wondering what to call it, the Rasta have had a name for that, and it's called ITAL. It's just whole foods. It's just earth food, earth strong.
Earth food, earth strong. Do you have anything you want to say to wrap it up?
Science. It's the endorphin swap is simply explaining the science of what's going on in these foods. We don't love meat. We love the endorphins that the fat in the meat releases. After we swap out these sources, it's all about textures. It's just textures. We're used to the texture of chewing on this. Once we get these endorphins released, that's what's going on in our brains scientifically with a connection in the food. So once we know this, consciously what's going on here, why we actually like this, why we're craving it, we can consciously make the changes over better sources of it and be healthy.
I agree. I am living proof of your influence and this endorphin swap. Endorphin swap by Oskii Chevanier.
Right.
I'm going to wrap up with a quote from you because I quote you all the time,
Give thanks.
but I found this really cool one. It's not about saying, okay, let's get everyone better and healed. It's about how to change back to living in tune with the earth. That's what I want to focus on. And cannabis has been a part of that for the extent of mankind. So how could I leave it out?
How could you?
How could you? Agree.
Give thanks, sister.
I do give thanks. Thank you, Oskii. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe to this podcast. Also, look for us on YouTube and at plantsforlife.com.
Plants for Life. Plant-based lifestyles and ancient nutritional treatment strategies. Plants for Life.
The ideas presented in this podcast are meant for general informational purposes only and should not be considered professional advice. The Plants for Life podcast and Plants for Life LLC and all affiliate subsidiaries disclaim any liability for any damages arising out of reliance on the information presented. Please consult licensed professionals for any medical, legal, or business advice.